So I'm standing here on the front porch of our local Chevy dealer because right inside the showroom here is a very special car. We've been waiting for it for a long time, and a lot of you guys have asked for it. Of course, it is the 2020 Chevy Corvette Stingray. Like I said, it's right inside, and we're gonna go on in there, take a quick look at it, and show you guys all the really neat features of it up close and personal. Alright, so of course the first place to start off looking at is going to be the exterior styling. And now it looks like no other Corvette before it because of course we are now a mid-engine model. So we have totally different proportions on board. So you kind of have the cab forward design where it sets up a lot closer up to the front, and the hood is a little bit shorter than the last generation. Now as we move up to the front, the big thing that stands out is just how angular it is. You have really sharp body lines that run all across the hood, as well as really sharp and angular full LED headlights. Now if you look down here, you have a really aggressive lower splitter. This is actually a little bit more aggressive on this model because this is the Z51. It has the performance package, several different enhancements all throughout, but that's one of them, is the more aggressive front splitter. And then off to the side here, of course, you're going to find a fully functional, gigantic brake cooling duct just to feed those massive Brembo brakes that I'm going to talk about in just a second. Now I know there's not a lot of space around us here, but you can get a good look at those proportions I was talking about earlier. When you look at it from this perspective, you can see you really have this awesome look where it kind of comes upward and builds as it gets wider and kind of taller. Really those classic supercar proportions, again, that are very different than what the Corvette usually is, but really exotic in the overall design. Now we'll go ahead and look over at the wheels. Now these are going to be staggered wheels, so you're going to have 19-inch alloys in the front, 20s in the back, and they're 11 inches wide in the back. On this Z51 performance package, it's going to be Michelin Sport Pilot 4S tires, so definitely a very performance-oriented tire, as you would expect for a vehicle like this. And if you're wondering about the design specifically, this model did not ship with this wheel design. These are actually some aftermarket wheels that the owner has chosen to equip with, so I don't actually know if Chevy sells this design or not. But regardless, I really like the way these look. It definitely adds a new element to the aggression, and I like the gray finish as well. And then of course I do have to talk about the brakes a little bit. What you'll be looking at on this Z51 is 13.3-inch 4-piston performance Brembo brakes, so definitely a very aggressive brake. And I'm sure eventually carbon ceramic brakes will be offered, though I don't think they are available on the Stingray model. Now, one of the coolest features, though, of the new Corvette's design has got to be the large side blade here. This, of course, is necessary since we're now at a mid-engine, so we have to get all that air back there and feed into that large 6.2-liter V8. So we have a wide, opening here, just like classic supercars. But I do like, on this specific example, the owner has chosen to paint the side blade in the contrast black. I think that really looks stunning.
Now, arguably the best angle of this new Corvette is going to be the rear of this vehicle because it looks so good. This is honestly the angle where it looks the most like a supercar because you have just this classic Corvette look, except now with that new mid-engine proportions, you have just really good looks. Now, as far as the actual features that you're going to have back here on the Stingray, of course, up here on the top, you have a big spoiler. Now, we do have the engine compartment open. I will talk about that in just a second. But as far as just the rear design, you do have fully LED taillights. These actually do have dynamic turn signals as well, which is a nice, classy touch. And dropping down, you have this really cool splitter design. This is actually functional to help cool the engine. And then off to the side, you have quad exhaust. These are going to have a nice square design. And on this Z51 Performance, you have a nice performance exhaust which unfortunately we won't be able to test out today to see how that sounds, but I can only imagine that it would sound really, really good. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the engine that is powering this new Corvette Stingray. Now, under the hood, you're still going to have a 6.2 liter V8 engine. This is the LT2 engine, and it does have quite a bit more power for 2020. It's up around 35 horsepower to 490 horsepower, or 495 if you go for the performance exhaust system. And now, you may think that that's not as big of a performance increase as you might expect from an all-new Corvette model. However, this goes 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. You heard me right. Under 3 seconds, this thing will go 0 to 60. I believe Motor Trend even tested it at 2.8 seconds, which really puts it above most supercars in the market. Now, if you're curious as to how fast that compares to the C7 Corvette, that is actually faster than the ZR1 model, which has 755 horsepower, and this is just the base Stingray model. Now, as far as your other engine information, it's going to have an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission. Of course, it is going to be rear-wheel drive only. And then as far as your fuel economy, it actually is going to stay roughly the same as last year. You're going to have a combined fuel economy rating of 19 combined, although I don't imagine most of you guys will be very concerned about the fuel economy on an awesome vehicle like this. Now, while we're back here, I do also want to mention something you might be noticing, and that is this trunk area. Now, of course, this is mid-engine, so you are going to have a different trunk setup than you would have last year. So it's actually going to be a dual part setup. So you have the bigger portion is back here in the engine compartment, and you can fit, as you can see, you can fit the roof that is detachable on this Stingray model back here. And Chevy actually rates this at 12.6 cubic feet combined. So 12.6 with this area plus the one in the front.
All right, so let's go ahead and check out the inside. Now, the door handle is actually integrated right underneath this piece that goes in with the side blades, so it has a really nice and seamless look. You can't see it at all. And you just open it up like that. Now check out this interior. This is a huge change from the previous generations of the Corvette. Big emphasis was made for this new generation on just the luxury factor. You know, that's kind of something that people have previously complained about. Each generation has gotten nicer and nicer, but this really brings us to like this full luxury car tier. So let's go ahead and kind of get in and check out some of the features. Now, the first thing I want to look at is the seats. These are the GT2 seats. So this is just an absolutely beautiful seat. We have fine Napa leather in 2 different colors. So we have black on the inside, we have the white bolsters, we have the color contrast stitching, of course, but you also notice in there we have carbon fiber, and that's also what the whole back of the seat is made out of. And we also have some matching blue seat belts, which is a really cool touch. All right, now getting in here, you have a really nice aggressive seating position. You sit down real low, and the first thing that strikes me is this steering wheel. This is obviously like nothing else. It's mostly a square, so this is really neat. You know, I can imagine this would be really cool to hold on to. You're taking it out on a back road, and we have real metal paddle shifters as well, which I'm a big fan of. So this is the new Corvette key. As you can see, you have the Corvette emblem on here. You got some real metal trim around the sides. You have all your buttons on there, including for your front and your trunk, and your remote start right there in the middle with the little Corvette symbol on the side as well. So obviously right in front of the driver, you have the gigantic central 12.3-inch digital display that's going to contain all of your information. Of course, fully customizable. So each drive mode is going to have a little bit of a different appearance. And to go along with that, you've got the head-up display. So that you can put the race gauges up there, so you can have, you know, basically whatever combination of gauge setup you want. And like I said, it does change depending on what type of aggression you want in your drive mode controller. Now off to the side here, This is the main display. You'll notice that this is completely tilted toward the driver now. So this is pointing all the way towards the driver. This is going to be pretty much the same as in other General Motors vehicles. So this is Chevy Infotainment 3, the latest version. We also have the Bose Performance Sound Series system. As you can see, we have big metal speaker grills, which look absolutely lovely, and they have really nice details like these stripes that run through them. Definitely make for a really classy look and a really nice sound as well. Now, of course, you cannot talk about this interior without talking about this center panel. It creates a separation between the driver and the passenger. It's very driver focused, this new Corvette. And this is where you're going to find a lot of your controls for various things inside the cabin. So this is actually where all of the climate controls live. So you can adjust your fan speeds and your zones right here. When you do that, it's going to show up on the main display, of course. We also have heated and ventilated seats. For the driver's side is going to be on the top, and then the passenger side is going to be down here on the bottom part. Also, right here in the middle, underneath this piece of leather, you have a knob, and this changes the different drive modes inside of the car. You also notice we have a really cool electronic shifter that controls the brand new 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, which is the only transmission available here in the C8 Corvette.
Now, the last thing I do want to talk about here is going to be the pricing for this C8 Corvette. Now, you'll be happy to know that this is still, especially for what it is, a very, very affordable vehicle. For 2020, if you can get your hands on one of these, the pricing for the 1LT is going to start under $60,000, so $59,995. If you go for the 2LT, which is what you see here, that's going to be $67,295, and the 3LT, which is the fully loaded example, is $71,945. Now, if you get all the options like what this one has, this one's around $74,000, which is an absolute steal for the performance and the looks that this vehicle has. But anyway, guys, we're looking forward to eventually getting to test out this C8 Corvette, do a full test drive, a comprehensive review covering all of the features of this. Unfortunately, this one is already owned, as we mentioned at the beginning, so we won't be able to do that in this particular video, but be sure to hit that subscribe button, and we will be doing a C8 Corvette review as soon as one becomes available.